In Project 2, we're going to take a look at inserting a table of contents again, but this time rather than using the styles as a reference point for generating a table of contents, we're going to actually mark text within our document and use the marked text to generate the table of contents. And you can probably understand why marking text might be used over a style. For example, if you look at our report that we have, I've already pulled up the report that they're requesting in Project 2A. It's the CompCom document, and if you'll notice in this, if we were to create a table of contents, we would have to apply a style to each one of these headings, and then obviously the table of contents feature would take those styles and generate the table of contents as we saw in Project 1. However, if you don't want to change the format of the existing text, you can use the mark text feature to allow the table of contents feature to gather all the marked text and create a table of contents. And by marking the text, it doesn't change the format of your text. So with that, we are going to go through and mark the main headings and also these side headings at various levels. Level 1 will be the main headings, level 2 will be the side headings. And then once we get those marked throughout the document, then we'll allow the table of contents feature to do its thing and generate a table of contents for us. So we're going to begin first of all by adding a section break that begins a new page, because a little bit later we're going to come back and insert that table of contents. So they want the section break to appear right before computers in the title, and we're going to go to the page layout tab in the page setup group, and then we're going to choose insert page and section breaks button. And again, we want a section break and a page break so that when we come back and do the table of contents, it'll have its own section, and then the report itself will have a section by itself. Okay, now we're going to go through the document and mark the headings and the side headings as special text. So to do that, we are going to select the title here, and then to mark the text, the shortcut keys to do that is Alt-Shift-O. That'll bring up the Mark Table of Contents Entry dialog box, and within that, notice the entry, since we selected it, pops into that text box. The table identifier is going to be set at C, and the level is going to be kept at 1. So we're not making any changes here. I'll leave everything as is, and we'll go ahead and click OK. Not OK. We'll click Mark to mark it. And then notice how it puts the placeholders that identify that as marked text. Actually, it's a code that represents that. So, all right, then we're going to move on down. The television and film, since that's a side heading, that is going to be a second level. Again, the entry is automatically in the text box since we selected it. Click Mark. Scroll down a little bit more. Home entertainment. That's a side heading as well. It's still at 2. We'll mark it. Scrolling a little bit down here, the next main title is Computers and Communication. That's a level 1. Again, notice my entry is updating, and I'm going to mark that. Side heading Telecommunication is a second level. So change that to 2 and mark it. We'll scroll down just a little bit further, see what else we got here. Publishing, still second level, mark it. News Services, mark that, and I believe that's all. Okay, then once we're done marking the entries or the text, we're going to go ahead and close out of that, and then we're going to go back up to the top of the document. I don't want to go necessarily to the first page yet. They want us to insert page numbering here that will be displayed in the bottom center of each page. So to do that, to insert the page numbering, we're going to go back to the Insert tab and then Page Number, and we want to go bottom of the page. We want it to be in the center. So we'll choose plain number 2. That'll place it in the center. And we do want it to start at 1. I'm going to turn off this link to previous, and we'll mark this so that it's formatted to 1. Close out of the header and footer. Now the body of our report, if you'll notice down here, is 1 and 2. Okay. Then the first page, back up on the blank page that we inserted before, I'm going to turn off the show hide button so I don't see the section break. But back at the top, I'm at the very top of the document, we're going to type in the title, table of contents, and that needs to be centered and bolded. And in all caps, I'll go ahead and type in table of contents. And then I'm going to turn off the bold and press enter, and then we also need to go back to the left. Now, to insert the table of contents based on these marked entries, we're going to go back to the Reference tab. In the Table of Contents group, Table of Contents. And again, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but at the bottom there's an Insert Table of Contents option. And that gets us back into the Table of Contents dialog box. And we're going to go into Options, the Options button. And that will get us into the Table of Contents Options dialog box. And lower left hand corner, you'll see there we want to use Table Entry Fields. Okay. Heading 1 is set at 1, heading 2 is at 2, and heading 3 is at 3. Those are the styles that we're going to use, except that it'll go ahead and take the table entry since we don't have any styles within the document. Okay, I'll go ahead and click OK out of that, and then out of the table of contents I'll click OK there as well. And there's our table of contents that it generated based on the marked text. Got the numbers here on the right. We do need to go down at the bottom of this page though and change that to little Roman numerals. So I'm double clicking to get into that footer again. We'll select the number, go back to the page number button, and we'll format page numbers. Again, the number format's going to be a little tiny I. Click OK. Now we're at I, and I will close out of the header footer pane. You have a little tiny Roman numeral I for the table of contents, but still the body of the paragraph, bodies of the document within the report still shows Arabic numbers. Okay, and again we're able to do that because we have a section break between the body of the report and the table of contents. That enables you to do that. Okay. All right, now we're going to make some changes within our document, and then we'll update the table of contents. We're actually going to insert another document at the bottom of this report, and the file obviously has already been created for us. It's out on our Student Data Files folder. So to pull in a file into an existing file, we're going to go into the Insert tab, Text Group, and we'll click on the Object button, and we're going to choose Text from File. And I'm already in the Chapter 6 folder, and we're going to choose COM Media. That inserts this new couple of paragraphs here, new section, Communications Media. Now, since we've added that, we do need to mark that as text since we have a side heading there, and we want to include it in our table of contents. So I'm going to select the text. Again, I'm going to press Alt, Shift, and O. Communication Media is in the entry. This is a second level since it's a side heading, and then we'll mark it. And that's the only one that we have to mark. Now I'm going to close out of it. We need to go back to the table of contents. Remember, this is not an automatic update, so we have to go back into the table of contents, and we're going to update that. We want to update the entire table because we added an additional paragraph at the end. So to update it, we can go back to the References tab, Table of Contents group, Update Table. Let's click OK there. I think what we need to do is select this. Let me go ahead and select all of it. I think it did mention that in there. So I'm going to select all that. We don't select the title though. Okay, and then back to the Update Table option. Now we're getting a different dialog box here. So we can choose Update Entire Table because we want it to add. Remember, we want to add that Communications side heading, Communications Media side heading to our table. So you don't just say we want to update page numbers. We want the entire table updated. I'll go ahead and click OK. It's going to add Communications Media as a new side heading, and again the page numbering. And as I mentioned before, these are all hyperlinks. So if I want to quickly go back to that section, notice the tooltip there says I can press Control and then click in that side heading, and it'll immediately take me down to that area in my document. And I just now turned off the show hide characters so we wouldn't see all the codes built in. Okay, so that's creating a table of contents based on marked text rather than styles. In Project 3, we're going to look at creating a table of figures. And with that, sorry about that. In the table of figures, if any document has figures within it, that document should then contain a table of figures so that the reader can, again, quickly locate a specific figure. The table of figures is created by marking those figures or those images as captions, and then they use the caption names to create the table of figures. So we're going to do that as well, and there we're going to pull up another document here in just a minute, but they'll have pictures in it, and we just need to go through and apply captions to those pictures. Okay. They also mention at the top of page 230, after you've marked all your figures as captions, the table of figures generally displays at the beginning of the document, after the table of contents, and typically on a separate page. Now I do know I've seen some classes not require, but suggest that the table of contents and the table of figures appear on the same page. So although our textbook does suggest that it goes on a different page, be aware that there may be requests by faculty and professors to put those on the same page. So in here, though, in our class, we will follow what the book has. If we have a table of figures, it will be after the table of contents, and it will appear on a separate page. Okay? All right. Now, we're going to open up a different document. In fact, I'm just going to leave this one open. We'll just go ahead and open an additional one on top of it here. And the one that we're looking for is Tech Report. And they do have us saving it as a different name, but I'm going to leave the original name as is. And as we scroll through here, you'll see several pictures that we're going to need to add captions to, and then the table of figures feature will actually generate a table of figures based on these images. So we're going to begin the first one here. I'm going to click on the first figure, and back in the References tab, we're going to insert a caption through the Captions group. Insert caption. Figure 1 is already designated for that figure, which is great. And then we're just going to add an additional description, which is Word document. And we're going to leave all the defaults here. Go ahead and click OK. And then we're going to center this text within our text box. So you can either Control E, or you can go back to your Home tab and use the alignment keys. Okay, so that's our first caption, and I think I could probably make this a little smaller. Let's give us more room there. And then we'll go down to the next one. Again, I'm selecting the picture, and then we're going to go back into the References tab, Captions group, Insert Captions, and then it's Figure 2. Notice it's keeping track of that. And we're going to call this one Excel Worksheet. Click OK. And again, we need to center that text, so I'm pressing Control E. If you want to make the text box a little bit smaller, you certainly can do that. The third one is our monitor. And again, I'm going to insert a caption. It's Figure 3, and they're just going to call it Monitor. Click OK. Center it, Control E. I'm going to make it smaller. Do that. Let's see. The developing software area, we've got a SmartArt graphic. So again, we're going to insert a caption. It's Figure 4, calling it Software Lifecycle. Click OK to that. Places it underneath. Again, we need to center that. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Alright, now once we have them all identified, we have captions for all of the pictures, then we can generate, we can generate a table of figures. So again, we're going to go to the very top and we're going to insert a section break and a page break. And so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and go back to page layout, insert page and section breaks, and then a next page section break. Then I go back home. I'm going to press Control Home so I'm on that blank page. And again, I'm going to bold and center. Go back here a minute. Bold, center, table of figures. Okay, I'm going to press enter. We're going to turn off the bolding. We need to go back to the left margin. Okay, now we're ready to insert the table of figures, which is back on the References tab. And then the table in the Captions group again. We're going to go into Table of Figures. And that brings up the Table of Figures dialog box, which is the same one we saw for a Table of Contents, except now the Table of Figures is appropriate. And then we're going to change the style, the formats here from template to formal. You can see kind of the changes that have been made at the top. And then we'll click OK. And so now we have a list of all of the figures and what pages they're on in our document. Okay. After getting your table of figures created, as we saw with the table of contents, there may be changes that occur in your document. And so we're going to look at Project 3B, and in it they're going to have us add a clip art image, and then we need to add that then obviously to the table of figures. So we'll add the image, we'll add a caption, and then we'll update the table of figures. Okay. Alright, we need to go to the printer section. I think it was the one that did not have a picture in it. So we're going to position this at the beginning of the second paragraph, and we're going to insert a clip art. So we're going to go to the Insert tab, Clip Art, and then on the right hand side here, the media types, they want illustrations, I believe. Yeah. Okay, and then the type of clip art that we're looking for is a printer. And I'm not sure if we're going to get the exact one that they have, but I'm going to scroll through these just a minute to see what we have. Now I've scrolled through about halfway. You can see I'm about halfway down, and it looks like this is the one that they've chosen. So go ahead and click on that. And that'll insert it into the report. They do want us to make some changes here. The height, they want us to be 1.5. So I'm up on the Picture Tools Format tab. Change that just slightly to 1.5. They want the text wrapping to be tight. So in the Arrange group, Wrap Text, changing that to Type. Tight, not type, tight. And then it's not too bad where it's at right now. I think we'll leave it right there because they have it below. I'm seeing the first two lines, and I'm looking at page 233 at the top. If you'll notice there in the second paragraph, there's two lines. The first two lines are actually at the left margin, and they've positioned the text right below that, or the picture right below that. So I think we're pretty good there. And then obviously once you get the picture in, I'm going to close out this task pane, we need to add a caption. So I'm going to select the picture, go back to References, insert a caption. It's figure 4, and they're going to call this laser printer. And again, we're going to center that. I'm going to press Control E. And this honestly is not a good thing when you have one line here left. So I don't know if I don't think they're going to have us be changing this, but I'll come back to that in just a second. Once you've added your caption, then we're going to go back up to the top to the table of figures. And again, I'm just going to click inside that, and you can either go back to references and update right here, or you can press, they indicate you can press the F9 function key. Either one of those will bring up this dialog box, and again, we want to update the entire table because we've added a new picture, a new image. So click on that, click OK. Notice it shifts that, it puts laser printer on the correct page. It renumbers the figures if necessary. If you were to move the pictures around, you could come back up to the table of figures and you could adjust the table of figures and make it reflect current changes. So if you move them, if you delete them, if you add new ones, again, this update feature is wonderful. I wanted to mention, and I don't think it changed it, yeah, when you have one line like this, you probably want to go in and make some changes somehow to either a bottom margin or something so that you can keep that single line on the previous page. So you want to prevent that from happening, having one line of text at the top of the page.